Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, welcome to the panel. We're going to be talking about how you can use AI for ads and media buying. You know, with advertising constantly evolving, the one thing that stays constant is the need to be able to target the right audience with the right content at the right time. And AI can do that for us. And joining me today, I have Stella and Apoorva, and we'll be talking about predictive analytics, personalization at scale, best practices, ethics, what they see for the future, the whole shebang. So I'll start by introducing our panelists, and then we can dive right in. So first, we have Apoorva, the CEO and founder of Bestever AI. She has over 10 years of experience working as an engineer at Uber and NVIDIA and Apple, and she left her job to start Bestever AI. And we have Stella. She is the global head of marketing science at smartly.io. She has over 6 years of experience working with enterprise clients in the measurement and optimization space. And myself, Apoorva, I'm the senior engineering manager of Smartly's AI lab. Prior to that, I was a co-founder and CTO of viralspace.ai, which was in the creative intelligence space, and it got acquired by Smartly in 2021. All right, so let's get started. So, Apoorva, my first question is for you. How can marketers leverage generative AI effectively, especially when it comes to creative optimization and enhancing creativity? And if there's any success stories or strategies that have worked well, we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so marketers, I mean, and we're in the marketer day, so we're like 4 or 5 sessions in of like different marketing tools. So I think there's quite a lot of how to use marketing tools that leverage AI that's already probably the audience has been hearing about. But the main point of AI, when AI and marketing converge, is that the big advantage I see for marketers is the ability to do things very quickly that would have taken them a lot of time before. So something that you would have done a back and forth with your designer and your agency, and you're like, I need this to look a bit funky, or whatever these vague things that only humans had sort of the ability to understand and get back to. Now you can use AI to generate 20 different versions of whatever you can think of, and quickly make decisions, right? So you're not somewhat limited anymore by the resources that you can spend on. And this is really huge for marketers, especially when we talk to our clients who are like 1-2 people trying to pull off the whole thing, founder-led companies. Most people, I think, would benefit a lot from AI. Basically, it's like adding 3 junior designers and marketers to your team, because they're now able to create content in like, instead of 1 or 2 versions, you now have 20 or 30 versions to go off of. So I think marketers should leverage the chance to look at 20 different options or 50 different options if need be, instead of just 1 or 2 or whatever the small number was before. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. And Stella, how about you? How do you see the space working here when it comes to best practices in AI?
Yeah, fully agree with what Apoorva said on productivity and time savings. One thing I've seen with the enterprise level clients that Smartly has worked with is that they're not really looking for like an end-to-end black box solution where advertisers don't know what the AI is doing from ad generation to budget allocation, but it's more about kind of having specific AI-based layers that can stack up to form the full funnel from ad generation to budget allocation. So that's one of the things we're kind of building at Smartly, where we have an AI lab that can work as a standalone product for conceptualization and ad generation and iteration and creative insights. But then as we go further into actual campaign creation, there's a separate tool for that can also work as a standalone product And then we also have budget allocation across the social channels like Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, where the budget allocation, again, could work as a standalone feature. So it's more about having transparent layers on top of each other rather than a full end-to-end black box. And I think that's one of the things that enterprise clients are especially looking for, as there are so many different nuances between like brand identity and brand safety and the ad generation side, and then also where you spend your budget. There's a lot of internal data that also goes into making those decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned brand safety, right? And that's a great segue into the next topic around potential issues that can come up when you use AI, or especially around transparency, bias, privacy. Either one of you guys, how have you dealt with some of these issues that have come up? Like, we all know that AI can hallucinate, and we know that we need guardrails, but are there any particular approaches that you've taken that have been particularly helpful? Do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, of course, for large customers, it's important to not use any PII data, or we have not suitable for work kind of checks in place in our generative AI lab. And also what's really important is that brand kind of identity and the visual side and the value props that are relevant for the products that are advertised are taken into account in any generation. So a large company does not want to make the mistake of putting out our clients to be able to upload their assets, and then those are used as the basis for ad generation. Same with copywriting. There might be limits to what you can say, even legally. So not just for brand's sake, but those aspects are very important to take into account.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like there's a lot of use cases where AI works really well for like the max of the bell curve, but it's the long tails where maybe we even need human in the loop or even copyright safe generation models that can help with that. How about you, Apoorva?
I have a slightly, maybe controversial take on this. I think the whole safety aspect of AI especially gets overblown for like marketing tools. We're not trying to provide medical information. We're not providing diagnosis information. We're just providing a little bit of marketing content and a few videos and things to post as ads. I personally don't see this process as any different from creating content with humans. Like, humans are also susceptible to make mistakes. Humans also can claim things which are probably not true. Hallucinations are not just a pure AI thing. It's a thing, humans make mistakes and humans make claims that maybe are not necessarily true. So personally, I am not so worried about, like brand safety. Like, how is it? It's the same as using humans, and you would probably deploy the same strategies as you would if you were, before you ship something, you check it. You do the same thing with AI generated content. If something does not look real, something does not look right, you call it out, you fix it, just as you do with human generated content. So I personally don't see brand safety as a big deal with respect to AI. I think the risk is maybe the same, if not, probably it's a little bit better, because humans are better at being sneaky than AI. AI would be more obviously terrible at saying things that, it's very obvious. You could look at it and be like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. So at least in the marketing context, I personally don't see why people should worry more than letting humans take control.
Yeah, I guess if the right guardrails are in place, like the right review process, like you mentioned,
Yeah, it's the same as using humans. We're not making anything worse.
Yeah, I think I can use one example that we had with a client. Luckily, it was not gone public, but what could have happened if there had not been that human check was kind of cultural specific content. So it's a company that's global. They advertise in every country, and they used automated translations. But then some of the translations into foreign languages were kind of odd for the specific culture. So they wanted native language speakers to check that, okay, does this translation actually not just grammatically make sense, but also culturally, is this a relevant and okay thing to say. And there might have been some errors where that had not been the case. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great example. All right, why don't we talk a little bit more about personalization? I feel like almost every single talk, at least I've watched, has some level of personalization. And I know that this is a big value prop at Bestever. So, how do you approach personalization, and do you have any strategies that kind of set you guys apart?
Personalization is really important only if it was actually meaningful to the person who's making the content to reduce the work that they have to do, right? So that's how we approach personalization in Bestever is, okay, so what do we know about this brand or this agency or whoever? What are the things that they value? And we try to generate content keeping in mind that the personalization goals that they've either prefer to say, yeah, this is how usually, like these are our color schemes, or these are typically the voice or something like that. We usually use that information to generate, images, videos, what have you. But my opinion is more than personalization, I think what works really well, at least when it comes to ads, is unless, of course, we're taking the approach of generating an ad on somebody's device using their personal information, unless we get to the point, which maybe we will in a few years from now. I hear Apple's working on it. Unless we get to that point, personalization doesn't really mean much. All that actually matters is we're able to sort of cater to a specific demographic. I think that's as far as personalization can go right now without actually having too much personal information about the user, which most of us don't. So we try to bucket users based on what we've seen. So we take a very data-driven approach where we understand what's worked for a very similar user with very similar goals before, and then what are the things what are the ads that they deployed that performed really well, had great return on ad spend, etc. And then we use that information to sort of create data network effects to leverage to say, okay, in the past we've seen beauty and skincare products with these specific ads do really, really well. So let's use that information, leverage that to create ads for you, but use your personal branding and your voice, etc. But sort of use the formula that has in fact worked in the past, which is a great way to, we all learn together kind of an approach. So that's what we do as far as personalization goes. We don't have any personal information of the user or the brand even for that matter, because people just come in and they want an ad and it's immediate. So we try to leverage data more than anything else for what's worked for us in the past. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, fully agree with leveraging data there. What we've seen great use cases with personalization is kind of, again, focusing on the brand parameters that the advertiser uploads, their own assets with their brand identity, but then actually offering new ideas and iterations based off of their own kind of limits and brand visuals. So that's been an exciting use case. And then also just the scale of some of these advertisers. They might be advertising in tens of countries, and they might have up to 1 million products on their website that they're selling. So the amount of combinations possible per language, product, and then a few visual ideas is just millions. So in that way, we're taking off a lot of the time that designers needed to use to create sort of multiple iterations of the same type of message in a different language with a different product with a slightly tweaked text, that we can do this all automatically. So that's a huge benefit to advertisers, where designers' time can then more focus on the actual visual concepts and ideation, and then the personalization into various locations and demographics goes pretty automatically. Then another part that's really exciting is personalization across channels. So you might have the same type of product, the same type of visual concept that you want to advertise on Snapchat, TikTok, Meta, Pinterest, but you don't want to have to do that 4 times to meet the technical requirements of each social platform and the slight nuances between each social platform. So what you then can do is just create one visual concept, and then with our AI lab tool, you can then automatically produce the necessary concepts for each social channel. So that, again, takes off some of the undesired work time for creating these various tweaks across channels.
Awesome, absolutely. And now pivoting a little bit from creative to more media, Stella, you're intimately familiar with measurement, performance analytics. How can AI be used to help make better media buying decisions, especially around predictive analytics, for example?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that is important to look at is, of course, a really thorough measurement framework. So no matter what type of budget allocation or predictive tool you have in use, like if your own measurement solution is not accurate, then it doesn't really matter that the AI is optimizing if it's optimizing on inaccurate data. So that's, of course, step number one, to have a fully fledged media mix modeling tool, have multi-touch attribution across all the different media channels, and to test that accuracy continuously, quarterly or monthly. Then you know that you can trust that measurement data and you're attributing to the right sources. That's step number one. Then we can look at kind of AI as a way to predict future performance. So one of the ways to do that, and we've seen great success with customers at Smartly, is our predictive budget allocation feature. So it's a Bayesian hierarchical model that predicts the performance of tomorrow for each ad set you would have on Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest. And then it automatically allocates budget across all the different campaigns based on that metric that you have verified and given as your source of truth. So that's a really exciting piece. And again, it kind of makes the different channels like agnostic. It doesn't matter where your next dollar is going, as long as you know that you're equally comparing the different social channels.
Absolutely. Awesome. Why don't we skip to the last question, since I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I'd love to hear from both of you. What are you most excited to see in the short term? Let's say maybe in the next year or two. And what are you most excited to see in the longer term, maybe 5 to 10 years?
I think just product, in terms of product, I'm really excited to see. It's a bit tactical, but I am excited about videos, because it's definitely been one of those things that when we talk to marketers, they're like, images and text where it kind of feels like a solved problem, but videos is still a huge thing. So within the next 6 to 8 months, I'm very excited to see AI generated videos. Longer term, I'm very excited to see how this whole thing will shake out, especially in terms of marketing content, because the one thing that's on top of my mind, and I don't know the answer to, is we're constantly generating content that is now AI generated. Sometimes the GPT generated content that we see is better than the human generated content, and we're kind of getting to the gap where, okay, well, how effective will it be in capturing somebody's attention? Because at the end of the day, as a growth marketer or whatever, the goal is not, it doesn't matter what tool you use. It matters that you have an effective strategy for users to take action, right? So if everybody's churning out content like by the millions, like what's going to work? Like, are people really going to respond to it? What is the first reaction going to be when you see a TikTok video or when you see an Instagram post that's AI generated? It could be generated by AI, human, whatever, but with the content sort of tsunami that's coming up, how are people going to respond to it? Is it still going to be effective? Are the call to action still going to be effective? This is the part that we'll see play out over the next 5 to 10 years. I think it's not a immediately tomorrow question, but definitely, I don't know the answer to it, but I'm very excited to see how the human attention will evolve, how the human reactions will evolve as content becomes plentiful. That'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, actually, to piggyback off of that, it's really interesting that you say like content overload, because I feel like in the next 5 years, AI is going to be training on previous AI generations to generate new content. And that gets kind of complicated very quickly. Like, what does that mean when it comes to quality and like new innovations, right? So anyway, good thought experiment.
Yeah. Well, this might be like a boring answer in the short term, but I think it's just exciting to see a lot of these different tools that are still fairly early stage and prototypes, like fully being integrated into companies' workflows and understanding the interaction between what decisions humans make, what can be fully left to AI, how the different teams work together. So with marketing, it's not just the marketing team that makes decisions. There might be a finance team making decisions on budgets. There are designers making decisions on visual design. So there's a whole organization that needs to be aligned. So it'll be interesting to fully see these various tools or layers, as we call them, integrate into the workflow. Then longer term, definitely lots of exciting things coming up. I personally, because I see the measurement side the most, I'm excited to see how companies' internal non-attributed data would be better used with marketing. So even some larger customers rely quite heavily on the attributed data that these social platforms provide, but they have a lot of non-attributed sales data, all kinds of data internally. And there's a bit of a gap, and there could be some really exciting AI tools that would help advertisers see what's the treasure trove in their internal data.
Awesome. Thank you both. So that concludes the discussion, but we'll be on the side over there in case anyone has any questions. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.